Hello and welcome here to Talk FCB, and welcome here to more El Clasico build-up as we count down the days to the big game between Real Madrid and Barcelona at the Santiago Bernabeu. We have got the preview video coming up for you guys and all the information you'll need ahead of the clash between two of the footballing giants in the world of football. As always guys, the preview is coming to you courtesy of the OneFootball app, which is always down in the description for you guys if you do want to download it. 54% of users on the OneFootball app right now believe that Barcelona will win on Saturday against Real Madrid. Usually on the OneFootball app, around 95% of people believe that Barca will win in any given game. But of course, El Clasico is not just any game, it's a massive game between two massive teams. On my community tab, I also ran a poll. 2,500 of you got involved, so a massive thank you to everybody that voted in that poll. And the majority of you there believe that Barca will win by 2+ goals. Very confident. That's what I like to see. 54% of you believe Barca will win by 2+ goals, and 28% of you believe that Barca will win by 1 goal, 14% for the draw, and 2% each for different Real Madrid victories. So very confident on the community tab, and I appreciate that as always, guys. Now, kickoff on Saturday will be a slightly earlier one for a Clasico, and obviously depending on where you are in the world, it'll either be very early in the day or very late. So the kickoff in the local time in Madrid, it will be 1 PM local time. So a strange time for a Clasico, and it's going to be very exciting to see how the atmosphere is at the Santiago Bernabeu. It's something a bit different, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it all unfolds. Now, I'm sure you have noticed, guys, this preview video is a bit early than usual. Usually I release the preview videos just one day before the game, but obviously, given this is a Clasico, I've decided to release this earlier than usual. Obviously, we don't really have to wait on the squad announcement because we know what's going to be happening. We know the kind of players that Valverde is going to go in with. He's not going to be doing any experimenting in this kind of game, and I've also released it early because I will actually be on holiday when El Clasico strikes. I'm going abroad for Christmas with my family, so I'm going to be spending some time there, but of course I'm still going to be watching it, and I'm still going to make sure that you're updated on the uploads. I will be uploading as soon as I possibly can and as often as I can on holiday, but obviously after the game I wouldn't expect the internet and the Wi-Fi speeds to be as quick as maybe you're used to, so maybe just wait a bit for my opinions. They will be coming, but how quick, I can't tell you yet. But here you go with the preview today. We're going to be taking a closer look at Real Madrid at Barcelona and how this game is going to turn out. And obviously the first thing that we're going to look to is of course the league table. Right now it's first against fourth. Now that is not usually the case with Clásicos. Usually coming into these kind of games it's first against second, Real against Barca, the top two in Spain competing against each other. But right now, first against fourth. Barca currently top of the league with 42 points. Real Madrid are behind Atletico Madrid and Valencia with 31 points. And we are currently 11 points clear of Real Madrid in fourth. Of course they have a game in hand. They've been taking part in the Club World Cup, so they still have that game in hand. But even if they win that, we'd still be 8 points clear of them. And if we win right now, we would go an unbelievable 14 points clear of Real Madrid with them having a game in hand. If we draw the game, we'll stay at 11. And if we do end up losing the game, we will be 8 points ahead of Real Madrid, but it could be trimmed to 5 if they win that game in hand. But make absolutely no mistake about it, Real Madrid have to win this game. Zinedine Zidane, his players, the fans indeed, they're going to be under enormous pressure to go out there at the Bernabeu in front of their own fans and win this game. And I think that is going to play an absolutely colossal part in where the result goes. Real Madrid are going to have all the pressure on them. The expectation is on them to take the game to us and win it and close the gap. That is what is expected of them from their fans. And obviously in these kind of games, usually we have most of the ball. We dominate possession, we dominate territorially, you know, we're always in their half, we're trying to attack, and usually they're trying to hit us on the break. And that is what I want to see. How exactly are the Santiago Bernabeu crowd going to react? If we're dominating the ball, if we're creating chances, are they going to get a bit anxious? Are they going to start rushing Real Madrid, trying to see things happening very quickly? Because like I say, the crowd at the Bernabeu are very demanding supporters. They're going to go out there and expect their players to close that gap. And if things aren't happening early on, I would expect things to start taking a turn for the worse. And if we get the first goal, that will be massive. I think if we get the first goal, you will see the atmosphere inside the Bernabeu turn very sour indeed, and that can be used massively to our advantage. And what I would say about Real Madrid's home form this season is that basically it really hasn't been great at the Bernabeu. In front of their own fans, they've drawn with the likes of Valencia and Levante, and they've actually lost the game at the Bernabeu this season against Real Betis. You'll remember Sanabria's last-minute winner. So at the Bernabeu, they're not exactly on fire this season. As for our away form, we've currently got the second best away form in La Liga, only behind Atletico Madrid's. We haven't exactly performed brilliantly, though, in the big games. We've drawn against Atletico Madrid away from home 1-1 at the Wanda Metropolitano, and we've also drawn against Valencia, of course, although we all know, given the technology if it had been in that game, we would have ended up winning with that ghost goal from Lionel Messi. So we've got a bit of a point to prove as well. Away from home, we've been very, very solid this season, but against the big teams, we're yet to get a really big win. We won away at Athletic Club, that was a big win away from home, but against Real Madrid, we'll be going to the Bernabeu, a place that we feel very, very comfortable at, and we will be expecting to win this game. And in terms of the stats this season in La Liga, we've been very, very good on the offensive, but also in defence as well. We've been very, very strong this season. We have the joint best defensive record in La Liga right now, level with Atletico Madrid. We've only conceded 7 goals all season in the league. Real Madrid, though, have conceded 4 more. They've conceded 11. And in terms of scoring goals as well, usually that's very, very close between these two teams. But this season going into it, we've scored 42 goals. That's a league high. Real Madrid, though, 12 goals less. They've only managed 30 this season in the games they played so far. And in terms of goals in general, Real Madrid as a team collectively have really struggled for goals this season. In front of goal, they've been wasteful at times. They certainly haven't been clinical. They've not been creating as much as they usually would. And in the likes of Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale has obviously been injured for most of the season. They have not been scoring as they usually do. Real Madrid's top goal scorers, in fact, are Asensio, Isco and Ronaldo. All of those 3 players are tied on 4 goals each. Now, usually, you would expect a lot more goals to be coming out of Real Madrid's team. Casemiro has 3, and that's their next top goal scorer. Benzema this season, just 2 goals in the entire La Liga season so far. But if you look at us, we're very, very strong. We're very dependent on one man, you'd say, but Suarez in recent weeks has definitely shown some signs of rediscovering that form. Messi right now has actually scored more goals than Ronaldo, Isco and Benzema all put together. He's got 14 in La Liga so far. He's the top goal scorer as the season stands right now, and he's also contributed this season with 5 assists. Luis Suarez has 9 goals now, and our third top goal scorer, Paulinho, has 6 goals in the league, and that's somebody that I want to talk about in a bit more detail. Because obviously in the summer, and I wasn't alone on this, but obviously I wasn't behind the signing of Paulinho, and I do stand by the fact that we definitely need a different type of profile in midfield, and I still think we need that. We still need that controlling player in midfield, and obviously Paulinho coming in 40 million was very, very expensive for the stage of the career that he's at. But I have to say, and I said it yesterday on Facebook, I said it on my community section, I've got to give it to him. The way that he's played so far this season, I do like the way that he plays the game. He links up very, very well with Messi, very well with Suarez, and he always plays with a smile on his face, and you cannot give him any more credit for that. That's fantastic to see, even though I didn't agree with it, and even though I still think, obviously, there's other players out there which could suit our midfield a lot better. Paulinho has gone about his work in the right way. He's worked very, very hard, and he deserves a lot of credit like that. And I do genuinely believe somebody like Paulinho could end up popping up with a goal in a Clasico. He's the kind of guy who would find himself in the right place at the right time, in the right position, and I would be so, so glad if he could get lucky for us on Saturday. We saw him score twice against Deportivo, both of those goals, efforts coming off the post. He was in the right place to tap them home. If something like that happens in the Clasico and he is on the end of it, I'll be more than happy for that. But in terms of previous meetings between the two teams, obviously we met back in August in the Spanish Super Cup. That was 2 legs. At the Camp Nou we lost 3-1 to Real Madrid, and at the Bernabeu we lost 2-0. So both of those games we lost pretty comfortably indeed to Real Madrid. They were looking very, very good in those 2 games, and we were not looking at our level. And it has to be said, when those games happened and following that, it kind of seemed like Real Madrid would go on this season once again and be favourites for the league, favourites for the Champions League. But it really hasn't turned out like that. Things have changed very dramatically. Valverde certainly changed some things from those defeats, and Zidane's Madrid have certainly gone downhill, very much so, in recent months. And who could forget the last time that we visited the Bernabeu in the league?
Jordi Alba, Lionel Messi!
Oh my goodness!
Lionel Messi does it again, he's superhuman!
Lionel Messi scoring in the last seconds of the game to make it 3-2, to keep our title hopes alive. And when he scored, of course, his 500th goal for Barcelona, he lifts the shirt aloft, takes it off, presents it to the Bernabeu crowd to create a truly iconic moment. One of my favourite goals of all time, just for the magnitude of the game, the way that it happened, the landmark that he reached, the way that he did it, and of course, the fantastic goal and finish that it was. And in terms of Clásicos, look no further than that man Lionel Messi. He is currently the top goal scorer ever in Clasico history. He has 24 goals. He's 6 ahead of Di Stefano, who's got 18, and he's 7 ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo, who has 17 goals in Clásicos. And Messi also possesses the stat with the most assists in Clasico history. He currently has 13 assists to his name, which is outstanding, really. You consider somebody, obviously, who's a great goal scorer and somebody who's a great assist maker, somebody who can create chances, but you've got a guy here who's topping all the records in both departments. He can score, he can create. Is there anything this little man can't do? No, there isn't. And I have to say, speaking about Messi in a bit more detail, I'm very, very excited to see him on Saturday, simply because against Deportivo, it just didn't happen for him, did it? He was everywhere on the pitch, he was creating chances, he was scoring goals, just like I just said, we were showing all different sides of his game, but he was so unlucky that he couldn't get on the score sheet. He had the woodwork once again this season, the second time that he's done it, 3 different times, and I just think at the Bernabeu, he's going to be more determined than ever to score, he's going to be more determined to ever to stretch this gap in La Liga, and I think we're going to see a fired up Lionel Messi, and that is always a joy to watch. I would certainly fancy him to score in this game, and I think all in all, it rests on Messi's shoulders. If he has a great game, if he really brings his A game to the show, like we know that he can in these kind of games, we'll win it. It's as simple as that. He can win the game on his own, he can do it all on his own, and I would not be a bit surprised to see him do it in Real Madrid's backyard once again. Now yesterday, guys, I did a video showing my lineup and talking about the game in a bit more detail tactically and how we would set up and how Valverde could line up. So if you want to take a look at that video, that is in the description for a more tactical look at this game. I'm just going to quickly show you my lineup that I think Valverde will go with in this game. Obviously the big question mark is whether Dembele will be involved, but he certainly won't start the game. If he is going to be in the squad, he'll be on the bench, but right now it's uncertain whether he'll make the squad for this game. It's going to be Ter Stegen, Jordi Alba. I think Vermaelen will get the nod over Mascherano on Saturday alongside Gerard Piqué. Sergio Roberto will get the nod over Semedo at right back. I think Valverde will go with that. Busquets, Iniesta, Rakitic and Paulinho all making up a 4-man midfield with Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi leading the line, the 2 attacking players who can certainly hurt Real Madrid in terms of goals. And obviously I'm going to give my prediction as always. I don't think this is going to be a game that's full of goals. Usually in Clásicos we've had 4-3s over the years, we've had massive scorelines 3-2 in the last meeting. I just think simply because of our defensive game we are maybe a bit more cautious under Valverde, we are a bit more methodical in the way that we go about games. We're not going to concede a rack of goals here. I'm going to go with Barcelona 2, Real Madrid 1. I think Messi and Suarez are going to get on the score sheet for us. I think we might take a 2-0 lead. Real Madrid might peg us back to 2-1, but I think we can win this. I certainly think that we can go to Real Madrid and win the game like we have certainly done in the past. And like I said earlier, do not be a bit surprised if Paulinho gets on the score sheet. He's the kind of man who could nick a goal in this kind of game, either starting or coming off the bench and making an impact. He could maybe make something happen, and it's going to be absolutely thrilling to see how this game goes. So as always, guys, I'm very excited to hear your opinions and your predictions. Leave your lineup predictions, and most importantly, what is your score predictions and your goal score predictions for the game against Real Madrid. It's going to be enthralling to see how it turns out. I'm confident. I'm glad that most of you guys are confident. Let's keep that going. Let's keep going until Saturday. We can do this. I'll see you soon, but until then, as always, Visca El Barça.
Barça, Barça, Barça.